Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another edition of the BNS podcast. Today's session is different. Normally, I will have a mother speaking on the parental challenges that they normally will have while working with their loved one who is either on the spectrum or actually is dealing with challenges with autism. But today, I have a brother in the house. So now we're going to get the balanced perspective because all the time I keep on getting folks saying, Ike, where are the men? Ike, where are the men? So Joshua's here to take one for the brothers, and I am super excited. What do you know? I was raised well. So before my
Yeah.
mom said, "Hey, after everything you taught me, how come you went to the brother first?" So ladies first. Josie, hi. Can you introduce yourself
Hi.
globally, please?
Yes. Hi. I am Josie, and I am a mother to soon to be 21-year-old autistic young adult. Yes.
Wow.
Been on this journey since he was 18 months.
Whoa, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
And we're going to look into all those things and the challenges that you must have faced. But on the other side, to be sure that I got my brothers in, Josh, it's your turn. Introduce yourself and tell us more about you, where you're located.
My name is Joshua Hopkins. I'm located in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area. I have a 4-year-old boy who is on the spectrum, who was diagnosed a little after 2 years old.
Wow. So right
Level 2.
there you go. So right there, we have a 21-year-old and a 4-year-old. So it's iron is about to sharpen iron right now. Let me start with you, Joshua. There are very few men who actually embrace this diagnosis well. I've been trying to do my own research, working as the CEO of a foundation called the Uplift Group, and what we focus on is children and adults with intellectual disabilities, especially the areas of autism and their families.
Mhm.
And I always see at my peer mentoring programs and the sessions that we normally have on a regular basis, mothers stepping up and taking the charge. But then the dads are not often seen in this situation.
Mhm.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges men, especially men of color, might have in this area?
I would say a lot of times the men aren't as loud, but are still active. I think a lot of times we focus on or hyper focus on the provision side of things, working behind the scenes a lot of times. But in regard to, being a father to a kid that's on the spectrum, it can be a scary thing, especially because it's more prevalent in boys. Um, a lot of men have they kind of mourn the loss of the idea of the father son relationship that they thought that they would have. They don't know, any type of direction or any type of information when it comes to being on a spectrum, and a lot of them are, having signs of regret, blame, or any of those. So it's a bit of a hard thing to fight through.
Thank you for being transparent. I think the word there was um, mourning that loss of that relationship. But in some cases, it's not a complete loss.
No.
I guess most of the time is actually the perception and the perspective of what the brother or the man would have thought it was supposed to be like.
Mhm.
Uh, Josie, I'll
Yeah.
come to you. You've been there. Dontre is your son. He's turning 21. What was it like when you first found out 20 years ago and raising a boy in this area? Were there any particular challenges you had with that mother-son relationship that if there was a different gender in place, it could have actually helped strengthen that walk?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot to unpack with that question.
Over here.
First of all, I don't think that whether you have a boy or a girl really makes a difference, right? When your child is diagnosed with autism. Now, studies have shown when it's when a girl child has autism, it's more severe than when a boy child, because it's more typical in boys. However, to that first part of that question, when I first got that diagnosis, I went into instant depression, because no parent will have a child and expect that. Like, I'm a mom, I'm pregnant, I'm already thinking ahead. Like, okay, this kid is going to be great, grow up and have this wonderful life. And then all of that comes to a screeching halt because of someone telling you, hey, he's showing signs of autism. So as any other parent, I'm sure, doesn't walk away smiling and heading to happy hour. Of course, I went into depression. I cried. I had my moments of asking God, why me? Like, why did you choose me and my family to go through this? However, for us, I think we unpacked that pill really quickly and really dealt with what our reality is. And I feel like a lot of parents now who's just beginning their journey, that's the first step that you have to do. You have to swallow that pill. And I actually did an interview yesterday, and I was just talking about that feeling, 20 years ago versus now. Of course, things are handled differently. As Josh was getting his diagnosis, probably was totally different to mine. However, 20 years ago, a lot of parents, we walked away feeling like we're in a space that is all boxed in, like there is no hope, there is no life beyond the diagnosis. I'm happy to see that, the whole autism world has evolved, and parents like Joshua now can walk away and feeling a little bit more supported than 20 years ago. So, having my platform that I have with my son, I think my mission and my journey is to really help parents feel like, listen, your child is your child. It's not going to change, So, yeah. But that instant, it's not easy to deal with. It's not.
Wow. I can only imagine. I have people in my immediate family that have to walk this walk, and I can only imagine what it would be like, But I guess also I've also noticed that everyone's journey is different, and like you said, Josie, today's autism is different from 20 years ago. 20 years ago, in so many ways, it appeared like a life sentence, right? Now it's almost like okay, 1 in every 33 kids born in the U.S. Is going to end up on the spectrum at some level. And so with that being said, people have embraced it. The word has become more acceptable, but it still doesn't negate the challenges that the parent has to deal with at home. Just take a minute and just tell us about your journey. How has it really been from a male perspective?
It's difficult. And the other word that I was missing that was escaping me was being in a place of denial. So as a father, I had to be honest with myself, and I was like, oh no. Well, when my wife was pointing out the characteristics, I'm like, I've done some of those things before. I've seen people, walk on their toes, or kids spin around in circles sometimes. But I'm like, I hadn't seen the eye stemming or the hand flapping or anything like that. But I'm like, he'll just grow out of it. It's a language delay, speech delay, and I just had to come to grips with it with the help of my wife as well. And to understand that, this is much bigger than us right now, and that he needs all the help and resources that he can possibly get in order to be able to thrive. But knowing that he wasn't meeting those milestones, not able to talk. He's verbal, but the communication part is missing. So he can't tell us, if somebody's doing anything to him or if he's hurting or anything like that. So that poses a safety concern, which adds more stress on us.
Yeah.
So that poses its own sets of issues. But there's a lot of research that comes behind it too, and I'm not the best at doing research or anything like that. So That's been a struggle for me. And just having a new set of constant worries, from everything for safety to, am I doing enough as a father? Am I doing the right thing? You question yourself as a first time parent, and then to couple that with a kid that's on the spectrum, it leaves you in a place of uncertainty. I don't know. Yeah, it's a wide range of emotions that I constantly go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I know that's not just you, Josh. A lot of men definitely have those challenges. I have someone who's very close to me. He was in denial for quite a while, and I mean a long while, and it caused a lot of tension in the home, and he never came to terms with it until one day he was traveling with his son, and this was his first son. They have 3 other kids in the family, but he's the first son is the one that's on the spectrum. And at the airport, the young boy decided to exhibit behaviors, and the mother was not around, so just him and his son. And that was when the penny dropped, pretty much, to say, whoa, there's a problem here. He bowed down, he cried, got himself together, and said, well, I have to be involved in this journey completely. I can't be in denial. This is just my son exhibiting this big international airport. And if I run away, who's going to help him out? So, and that was a turning point for this person I'm referring to. But the good thing out of it now is they started looking for resources, access to resources. And one thing I found out in this work we do is it makes a difference on what side of the fence the child is actually born in sometimes, where so there's a lot going on. And they found access to resources, and the young man is actually at Cambridge University right now.
Wow.
So look at that.
I love to hear that.
So I just want to share that out to you and any other person who's out there to hear that it's not a death sentence. There's a lot of things that can actually happen. Josie, you heard his concern, you heard his fear. Would you say that's just across the board, regardless of the gender, or do you think truly and honestly the men internalize it differently?
No, I think it's across the gender, across the board. I don't think, and I'm glad Joshua is actually talking about this, because Andre's dad and I, so we got divorced when Andre was 4 or 5, but we always had a very strong co-parenting together, like regardless of whatever caused us to separate and divorce. But when it comes to Andre, because Andre's our only son on both sides, and he still, till this day, thinks Andre could be typical, right? And going back to Joshua's point of grieving and mourning, that's a serious thing. And sometimes I ask him, like quite often, have you really fully accepted what our reality is? So I don't think it has to do with gender. I don't think it has nothing to do with age. I think all our feelings and emotions as parents that have special needs children are very valid. It's very valid. And it's very important for us to sit back and really, take it in, because this is our life. And Joshua, you're just getting started, buddy. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say. So
you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I was going to say, Joshua's at the elementary level, and you are about to check out to the next season of Independent for Dontre. So my question then will be, if you were to speak to him as maybe a brother or a friend, what would you be telling Joshua to look out for?
Yeah. I would say to Joshua and his wife, I see you, I understand you. I am on that journey with you. When you meet a child with autism, it's just that, a child with autism, because autism has so many different faces.
Yes.
However, my takeaway advice to parents is enjoy the moments, celebrate the small wins, regardless if it's picking up an extra Lego or giving you eye contact for 2 seconds longer. every win is a big win.
Yeah.
I agree.
Don't think too far ahead for him, because when you think far ahead, fear steps in, and fear is a killer. When you think, oh my God, what's going to happen to him when he goes to elementary and middle, and don't think about that. Lean into his strengths and trust and believe me. From a parent who's had a nonverbal son from 18 months to 6.5-year-old, my son graduated high school with a GPA of 3.9, typical mainstream high school. So I'm saying this with my entire being. It is very possible. So silence the noise around you and really zone in and get the work done. It's possible.
I like what you said about focus on his strengths. How
Yeah.
do you get the parent to actually start identifying those strengths first, and then now zoom into them? I remember a good example I use all the time was I won't mention names, but a very prominent swimmer in the U.S. who won several gold medals, and that young man was on the spectrum. He had autism, and his mother is at swimming. And kids on the spectrum
Yeah.
love water. And
Water.
yeah, and he swam quite a bit, and then she channeled all that energy into providing great coaches for him. If you check today's history in the last 10 years, who has won the most medals, especially in the area of swimming in America, you'll see the person's name pop up. And that's a good example of channeling that. So how do you identify and then now begin to channel? Any of you can take it.
With me, I like to give my son space in order for him to explore and find out what his strengths are. And by paying attention to him, being patient and just sitting back, allowing him to see what he likes and does not like, I can then hone in and focus on the things that he finds pleasure in. The things that he excels in. So I start to pour more into that. And from that, I get more of a response from him. So that definitely helps.
That's good. Do you think he draws to his mom than to you?
I think that in a sense, yes, but he has separate things that he does with us that where he gravitates more to one than the other.
Okay.
In regard to, like the fun, the play, the roughhousing and stuff like that, obviously that's me, because, that's stuff that he enjoys and stuff that, I've always wanted to do. But it's also a lot of the daily life lessons that I teach him, and he pays great attention to. Now, when it comes to the nurturing, like caring, emotional part, like I still give him that, but obviously because it's his mother and he came from her, he will gravitate to her in that sense.
That's right. Okay. Josie, how are you?
For me, overall, I would say that with Andre's strength and his turning points in his life for us, besides identifying his strength, I think a lot of families, we struggle with pulling our kids to fit into our world and us not taking a moment to step into theirs. And I think once we did that as a family, is that we really start to realize, listen, he has a different lens when it comes to the world and how he processes everything around him. So it was all about us stepping back and letting him just evolve. And that was the biggest turning point for us.
Wow. Step back and let him evolve. All right. We're going to take a break right there. It's going to be a very short break. And once we're back, we'll continue the conversation. There are 3 areas I would like us to discuss. The financial burdens that you guys experience and what you guys feel sometimes you've missed out in your own personal life. So start thinking about that. And when we come back, we're good to go. All right. And we are back. Josh, I told you.
Yeah, no, that was quick.
I told you.
Yeah.
We're back. So before we went for our break, we were talking about identifying those areas and channeling the resources. Josie just reminded us the best thing is to identify, step back, and participate in their world and think less about ours. But there's a financial component to it that I see that happens quite often when parents start taking this journey. Can any of you feel free to share with us and our audience globally what those kind of financial challenges look like? Is there an extra burden? I mean, raising the child period is a challenge on its own, but is there an extra burden when you now have a child who's actually on the spectrum?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Um,
100%.
Tell our story, share with the audience.
okay. For us, there were a substantial amount of financial, I guess you could call them a burden, because outside of the normal um, amount of finances that you would need for your neurotypical kid, we had to go to a lot of specialists, because they say, the gut is the second brain, and that's a big thing with kids that's on the spectrum. So we spent a lot of money with the specialists because they don't take insurance most times. Changing over his diet to, an organic, gluten-free, dairy-free type of diet, the uh, expenses with food that took a toll on us financially, as well as, trying other means of helping them out. We've done stem cell therapy,
Okay.
which that has
Very
been
expensive. Very, very
very
expensive.
expensive. Yes. Getting them into, different therapies, even if we have insurance, you still have to come out a lot of money for co-pays, and sometimes the insurance doesn't fully cover it, so you have to come out of pocket for that as well. Getting them into all type of activities where he can, still play around with other kids and socialize. Like it just begins to pile up, and then not even to add on the childcare expenses, getting them into a school that is most beneficial for him, because it's not easy to take him to a public school because he doesn't have help, and most of them don't allow you to have an IEP or an RBT to go in with them. So right now, we have them into a private school, which, that comes all out of pocket, and the therapies that come along with that too. So it begins to add up.
And how do you get any? How is there any way you get help from? Is there any sources outside of your personal resources that you actually get help with?
Yeah, there are some, you have a couple of things, public assistance, you have Medicaid, you have WIC that you could possibly get. You have here in Florida, they have something called ELC. You have your step up program that you can possibly get money from. But with each of those programs, they come with their own set of stipulations.
Right.
And some of them you're able to utilize, and other ones you can't. So
Do you guys have something like autism waiver out there?
not that I'm aware of
Okay.
for that specific title, but it's something like, if that might be something close to the step up program.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, they might call it different names in different states. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Josie, what do you think
Yeah.
about that? And you've done this for 20 years, and
Ooh, yeah.
you
It's
want
kind of mind blowing though that you're saying that the public schools don't allow kids to come in with an IEP?
Some of them don't.
But why? What's the reason?
Um, some of them say because it takes away from
the rest of the class.
the rest of the classroom. And this is a personal feeling of mine, but a lot of them I feel don't allow other people to come in, or an IEP or an RBT to come in, because it's like now they can see exactly what's going on in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's it. Yeah. Was that your own experience, Josie?
No, that was not here. I live in Maryland. So I lived in that particular time with Andre. We were in a county called Montgomery County. However, throughout Maryland, though, there are really great programs
Right.
that public school provides. And my personal experience is that private schools are not equipped to handle someone on the spectrum versus public school. Now, Joshua, I don't know how Florida operates, but if you have an IEP in hand, by law, you take that to the Central Office of Education in Florida, and they have to provide you, by law, a school, an extra para educator if he needs it, and all services required. By law, that is your right. I don't know why
Yeah. Is that right? Is that right? Is that the right in Maryland? Or is that the right in America?
it should
every
be
state-
in America. Yeah,
every state-
it's
I'll
Joshua,
definitely look into that.
yeah. If I was in your shoes, I would print his IEP out, and I would start off by he's 4, so I would start off by contacting your local infants and toddlers program. See what they say and find out who is the person above them. You as a parent with a 4-year-old have the absolute right to go into your Central Office of Education and have a meeting. And it probably will end up you in front of an educational judge. It happened to me, but it happened and we were very successful because by law here in Maryland, DeAndre had his own school bus at one point. He had an extra para at one point because, of course, he was nonverbal. He had all of his speech therapy, occupational ABA, everything within his school that the county provided. So please look into that because that's a lot to come out of pocket every single time. And again, I'm not rubbing it in your face, but you have a long ways to go, so try. And also when you get to that point, and I'm speaking this into existence for you, if you feel and your wife feels like your son requires more, let's just say speech or occupational, you as a parent have the absolute right at his IEP to request that. And they have to honor that for you.
Yeah, you're the child's biggest advocate. Put it that way.
Don't let these people, because these people, all they want is a paycheck. They don't care how, they don't want to do the work. Let's just say that. But I am telling you, I was a teacher for many years. I am telling you, you have the absolute right to dig into this.
Yeah, that is so true. That is well said. And that goes for every other parent who's listening or somebody who's watching knows a parent that needs this kind of advice. Please share this with them because this is so true. I know for certain it is so true.
Yeah.
You're going to be
so where I lived and where DeAndre went to school was about 5 zip codes apart. Why? Because I fought for that. I know my right as a parent, what my son needed. I didn't want him in this school. I wanted him in. And I mean, of course, you're going to go through a lot of hoops. You're going to get a lot of run around, but stick at it because that is not right. That is not right. Yeah,
I'll check into it. We hadn't really considered public school right now. We have he's 4 going into 5, so he's going into kindergarten next year. So we have a little bit of time before we have to decide whether we're going to homeschool, which a lot of parents are deciding to do, or we're going to put him into public school or figure out something else. But it's just whatever's within what's in his best interest as far as his safety goes and his education.
Yes, it's all about him.
And regardless, Joshua, if you guys decide to homeschool again, the county is supposed to send specialists out to you.
That's correct.
Yeah, we have all the services.
Okay.
We have that. Like his school, he has an RBT with him in his school right now.
But you're paying out of pocket, is what you're saying, though.
No, that's covered in the step up.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm saying like there are certain programs that's available here in Florida, which we have some of them, but there are some things that still come out of pocket in regard to like his therapies and stuff like that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. we're going to be winding down. Thank you. I mean, this is the best I've had in a long time. Parents coming out and sharing. I don't have to do much of the talking, but I have two questions here that I thought folks want to know. As a parent, take a few minutes and answer these questions. You had to make some sacrifice. You had to pause or set aside some things that you can't do or couldn't do. How do you feel about that? And what were those things? I'll start with Josie, who has been there for 20 years. What did you have to sacrifice?
Well, well, first of all, once we realized what our life was shaped out to be, we told ourselves, regardless that DeAndre had a 2-parent household, we're not going to put our life on pause because we're not going to miss life because of a diagnosis. We live life fully. Okay. And if that means making a few adjustments on the way, having extra headphones, having an extra, sensory fidget toys, that's okay. But don't put your life on pause because of a diagnosis. Life is too beautiful and too precious to let it slip by because a doctor is telling you you can't. In our world, there is no I can't. So we live life. Andre has traveled from Portugal all the way to Trinidad and Tobago, where I'm from. He's traveled the world. He loves traveling. Sometimes it is exhausting, but as a parent, we prepared for that. So don't let life pass you by. It's just your challenges and your wins. Everything looks different, but that's okay. It's okay.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for that, Josie. Josh, how about you?
I wholeheartedly agree with Josie. I piggyback off of what she's saying about living your life. Like you definitely have to maintain a life of your own, or else you'll end up getting lost in a life that you're, rearing for your son or your daughter that's on the spectrum, because there's a lot that comes into play and they need a lot. And if you don't pay attention to what your needs are, your stressors will start building and you tend to lose yourself, and that starts to affect your home. So I would definitely say to continue to live your life, do those things that make you happy, self-care, still hanging out with friends, traveling, whatever you did to, have some sense of enjoyment, continue doing that. Your child is never going to go without.
That's right. You're right about that. Joshua, we're going to round up this podcast. Thank you, both of you, for this. As we wrap up, I want you, Joshua. Actually, no, let me go to Josie, and then Joshua, you speak last. Josie, look at the cameras. Talk to as many parents as you can globally and tell them what they need to know. Just take a minute and give them some kind of inspiration.
I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So I'm telling you, I'm not an autism fixer. I'm just here to help, support, and navigate, because I know what it feels like feeling stuck, feeling depressed, feeling all those emotions. But I just want parents to know that all of those emotions are very valid, but don't sit in it for very long, because you need to get up and start getting at it, because you are your child's biggest advocate. And remember, regardless of what the wins are, in our autism world, all wins are big wins. So live life and keep lighting it up blue, because this is our world.
That's our world. Joshua, what would you say to all the men? And then you have a podcast, Joshua, correct? You do have one too, Josie, correct?
I do, with my son,
Yes, Josie, tell us about where to find you on the podcast, and then I'll do that with Joshua. So people can actually,
So all of our social media handles is Autistically Speaking with DeAndre and Josie. And I created the podcast, honestly, for really and truly, social media has been a win-win for us. It definitely has helped my son grow. So I created the podcast to help boost his self-esteem, widen his vocabulary, and just get comfortable in front of the camera. So our podcast is not really, like you got to tune in to listen. It's just us having fun, having autism conversations, so that's what we do.
Okay, awesome. And Joshua? Question number one, yeah, to the fathers or the men
To the
out there.
fathers and men out there, I would say feel what you're feeling. Your feelings are very valid. Uh, Understand what those feelings are, and like Josie said, do not sit in them, but identify them. Uh, Make sure that you're being as helpful as you possibly can with your spouse, because it's going to take definitely a village in order to get your child what they need.
Yeah.
All right. Make sure that you're doing everything that you can do for yourself to maintain a great level of mental health, because that is necessary. Also have a great sense of patience when it comes to yourself, and everything that is required of you in order to help your kid. But have a great sense of patience when it comes to your kid, because they need it. They're trying to navigate a brand new world as a kid, in general, but even more so as a kid that's on a spectrum, because they're not the typical.
That's correct.
So they need that from you.
Thank you so much, guys. Where can we find your podcast? What's it called? And then we're going to go into the question.
All social media platforms, it's The Village Podcast, THAVILLAGE. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We have a website up as well. So we have a link tree with everything on there. So you can find us, have episodes and out everything. So please tap in. We have all resources that we can possibly get. Everybody that can, share their stories and help inform and build a village.
Thank you.
What's the name of the podcast, Joshua? What's the name of your platform?
The Village, THAVILLAGE podcast.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
I'm
guys.
following from our social media platform.
Okay,
you
we
go.
will do the same.
And while both of you are following, I would like you guys to both follow us on the Broken
We will
Nut.
definitely, yes, that's it. Yes, we'll
Okay.
definitely do that.
Well, follow us on the BNS podcast as we continue to promote what we do, and also follow us on the Uplift group.
Mhm.
The Uplift group, and the Uplift is spelled UPLYFT. Josie, I'm going to stay in touch with you since you're in Maryland. We have a big event coming up soon where we celebrate parents and loved ones. Hey, Josh, you're welcome to fly in from Florida. Of course, definitely. So, yes,
I would love that.
I'll keep you guys posted, make sure that we follow up with you guys on that event. There is something that we do at every show we have. It's called the drop-off question. And believe it or not, the last parent asked this question, and it was your wife. Unfortunately, you're going to go first, Joshua. She goes, drop-off question. If you were an autism advocate, what is the one thing you would change as regards to your journey with autism? Joshua.
One thing I would change. Not believing so much in what doctors say about what your kid cannot do.
Man, you're strong. Bam. Bang, bang, bang. That's the biggest thing I tell every parent. Do not believe what they say. Don't.
Yeah.
I've had parents that say the child will never walk, child will never talk, child will never do this, child will do this. Don't believe, just follow that gut feeling and do your part. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very
Josie,
true.
and what would that be for you? What would you change? 21 years.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't change anything.
Oh, wow. Good.
Within my family, I probably wouldn't change anything. If outside of my family, what I would have changed is people's perspectives, the way that people judge our children when they're stimming or just having a meltdown. That is the only thing that I probably would have changed. But other than that, I think my journey has definitely mold me and my family into who we are after God. So I wouldn't, no.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time and effort. One of the last things I want to say as I wrap up this podcast is that I want to encourage early intervention. I think early intervention at any stage of this journey is so key. And in the state of Maryland, especially in Prince George's County, where I actually stay, we are pushing for that early intervention. The earlier parents come to terms with it and start intervening to support their child on the spectrum, the earlier that child begins to mold their life and everybody begins to align themselves. Thank you, both of you, for making out time. And for the rest of our audience, we want to say, please don't forget to like, share, follow us. But anywhere you see the BNN podcast, we are here every Sunday, 3 p.m. We've done this for 4.5 years, nonstop. And by God's special grace, we're going to keep on doing and building this platform. Over 10,000 people follow us on YouTube alone. On an average Sunday, we have about 1,000 people that watch live to see this, and it's global. So we thank God, all glory to him. And in my special, normally I'll say, what's your drop-off question for both of you? But that's going to give us a confusion. So I'm going to make sure I form a drop-off question. Or you know what? Why don't I do it? If you had the next guest, you had a question to ask them, Josie, what would be that question?
Go to Joshua first.
Joshua, you go first.
I was hoping you were going to go to her. A question that I would ask, what are you willing to give up so that your child can have the life that they can have, that they deserve?
That's a big one. And then you, Josie?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I usually have like a ton of questions in my head, but I don't have questions. I have more of, I think you should just skip me on this one, Ike. I don't have a...
And that's perfect. It works perfectly well. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. In our special 3 words, I wish all our guests love, peace, and more grace. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And I'm so ginger. Joshua, take care of yourself. I'll stay in touch. Josie, I'll do the same too.
All right, Joshua, keep in touch. All right.
Yes, Ali. Form that village, form that community. It's very
for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. And on that note, it's a wrap for us at the BNS podcast. Same time next week. It's your host, Ike O. We're out.